Okay, in this video we're going to be creating and configuring a DHCP server in Cisco Packet Tracer and also in our virtual environment in using the virtual machines. So firstly, let me explain what a DHCP server is. It's a server that spits out IP addresses to client machines automatically. And so firstly, when we do our Cisco Packet Tracer, Cisco Packet Tracer is a software provided by Cisco to create virtual networks to simulate virtual networks. So it has different devices like end devices, network devices, your cables, etc. So now we're going to create a small network that has a DHCP server. So we'll start off with our end devices. We're going to have two PCs. They are going to be connected by a switch, and that switch is going to be connected to a server. We're going to use a straight through cable to connect the two. Fast Ethernet to the switch. Cable again on the PC, fast Ethernet to the switch, and then from the server, from the switch to the server, and there we go. So now we're going to configure the end devices, the PCs, so they would. What just happened? Okay. So we're going to configure it. Click on the configure tab and click on fast Ethernet. No, on settings, sorry. And we're going to switch static to DHCP. And we're going to do that for both devices. Same thing again. Config, settings, DHCP. And now, time for the server, where we're going to click on config. First, we're going to click on settings. We're actually going to have a static IP. And I'm going to use this IP address here. 68.0.1. Same thing for this one. .92.68.1. Right, so we're going to go on fast Ethernet. And we're going to have the same IP address again. And a default subnet mask. Right, and just to make sure that everything is working, we're going to click on programming, desktop, and we'll open the command prompt and type in the command ipconfig. And as you can see right here, we assign the IP address. So now we're going to switch from desktop to services, and we'll make this a DHCP server. So we're going to turn this on. We're going to change our default gateway and DNS server to this IP address. Same as well for this one. Okay, now for our start IP address, we're gonna start at 2. The reason why we're starting at 2 is because we do not want to spit out this IP address to any client machines. So we're going to reserve this IP address. Instead of using the 1, we're going to skip 1 and start from 2. So all client devices starting from 2 will go straight up to 254. Sorry, that's start 1. This is subnet mask. That stays like that. And the max number of users to 155. And right, so we're going to switch. And then now we're going to click save, and if everything works out, we're gonna check these two and devices should have an IP address starting from 192.968.0.2, and this one should be 2, this one should be 3, or vice versa. So let's just open up the window, click on desktop, we're going to open the command prompt, ipconfig, and as you can see here, this one got the IP address starting at 2, and if we open this one will get the IP address starting at 3. Right, so that is how you create a DHCP server in Cisco Packet Tracer. So now we're going to move on from Cisco Packet Tracer onto our virtual environment. So I'm just going to close all this. I'm not going to save my work, and I'm actually going to unpause the server. So we're going to add a role. Sorry, let me just close this. We're going to add a role and features. We're going to click next, role based. We're going to click this server, and this time we're going to tick the DHCP box. We're going to install this feature. So I'm going to start by clicking next. Same thing as before. Right now we're going to configure the DHCP, so click next, and we'll install it. I'll skip ahead to when the installation is finished. Once the installation is finished, we're going to configure it. So we're going to click configuration. We're going to click next, and then now you can just add the, we're going to click commit for this, I believe. Close this. Something's missing. Let me just figure out where it is. Okay, so now we're going to have to add a scope for our IP addresses. So we're actually going to click on Tools and click on DHCP. This is our DHCP server here. We're going to double click on it, double click on IPv4, and we're going to actually add a new scope. So we're going to click this button on top here, new scope. I'm going to click next. So we're going to start off by naming it. We're going to name it DHCP server. Actually, scope 1. This is our first scope. So in this case, we don't want to give out our IP address for our DNS server. So we're gonna, which is 192.168.0.1. So we're actually gonna start at 192.168.0.2, and we're gonna end at 192.168.0.254. I'm gonna click next, and here we're gonna add exclusions. So typically in a network, you're gonna reserve, you're gonna exclude some IP addresses to split out. Like for example, you might have some IP addresses for your routers, etc. So you don't want to split out those IP addresses, and you could assign a little range where you would exclude those. For example, you could exclude from 192.168.0.5. You can exclude from the range from beginning from that one, and then at 192 192.168.0.10. So for this example, I will do the same thing just to show you how it works. And 168.0.10. Now actually 2, 3, let's start at 3 and at 5 so you can see how it works. Right, and now when I click next, now listen duration means how long a certain device is going to have the IP address for. You don't want to lend out the IP address for a continuous time. You want the IP address to change within a certain time. So in this case, I would change it to 2 hours, 0 days. Usually, depending on your network, it could be different. So click next, and I want to configure the okay. So we don't have the router set up, so we're gonna click next. Domain server and DNS server. We're gonna skip. We already have one assigned, so we don't need to add any more. So next. Win servers, we don't have any. This was something used before DHCP. So next, and yes, you want to activate the scope now, and we're gonna click finish. Right, so we're actually gonna connect to one of our client machines to the DHCP server and see if it gets assigned an IP address. So let's try that out now. Okay, so now since we have our scope now, we're gonna go to our client machine and we're gonna take off a static IP address and change it from static to obtain one, and we should get one because now we have a DHCP server giving us IP address. So I'm gonna use my second client machine. So I'm just gonna unpause this and put the Control-Alt-Delete. Sure, I'll sign in as this because eventually they're gonna ask me to sign in as an administrator to make the necessary changes. Right, so now that the computer finished boot up, I could go on my network settings. I want to change the data settings, properties, and as before, it's going to ask me to be logged in as an administrator to make these changes. Am I recording right? Okay, yes I am. Right. So we're going to go on properties of the IPv4. So before we had a static IP address, we're taking that out and we'll obtain one automatically. And before, as you can see, it was 192.168.0.4, and now it should change. We should obtain one automatically from the DHCP server. So if I ping, actually if I type in ipconfig, we should see a new IP address, and as you can see, we have the new one, 192.168.0.2, and that means everything's working now. So that is how you set up a DHCP server in your virtual environment, and I hope you enjoyed the video.